Once upon a time, I longed for it, dragged my aching, raging bones along for it, even made my mind impoverished, desire-rich, but life-poor, for this thing we've all read about. In my understanding, it was paramount that I must become free from suffering, because when the galloping, blind, three-legged horse of anxiety was also dragging this body behind, death seemed like a kind companion, dying a preferable type of nothing. While living most days felt tantamount to another captive ride on this terrible sadistic carousel, hoping with fear and reticence that my accrued good karma might still pay off well, or well enough to save me in the final tallying. If I've taken more than my share, there'll be retribution filling the air and clouds thick enough to choke and provoke me to excel, or at least to want to do better. Overcoming my worst nature, if for no other reason than self-preservation, because at best there'll be maybe one last precious human incarnation, a forgiving chance to learn to play fair. Fear motivates those who in their soul don't actually care, or else be forced to make restitution to the demons in the thousand hells. I was drawn to the dim lights, fearing the destructive powers of my own emanations, and got trapped by my addictions, clinging to pleasurable sensations like they were the knotted hemp rope stretched over a 1,000-foot canyon. The object of my search was an opportunity to find impunity, to learn I had permission to exhale, allowing the candle to blow out, leaving all the struggling and striving that has defined my life behind. The mind rewinding back to a time before constant, paralyzing doubt became its default state. Before it felt like it was always running one gesture, 1 second too late to reclaim some lost state of purity, because in dry daily sobriety, society refuses to confirm for me that the discrepancies I see inside of me, and the urge I feel to try to become indefinably better, to endeavor to be unfettered, to unlearn and to disarm and to confirm all of the harm that I do to myself every time I feel I am a self. We're never let in on the secret that there's nothing else for us to become. It wasn't part of our primary school curriculum to learn that not acting out of contraction with predictable reactions could even be possible or achievable, or something people in modern times could find borderline believable. Without seeing pedestalized visions of a wise-robed monk levitating in a saffron holy land of his own derivation, casting away all derision by the precision of his concentration, basking in the rawest rawness of unfiltered pure sensation, creating elation like a natural byproduct of his enlightened way of being, like his pineal gland was pumping out a steady stream of fresh amphetamine. He's impervious to the arrows flung by enemies or friendly fire, deeply entrenched in the stable understanding that no matter which eventualities may one day transpire, seasons change ceaselessly and always fade away peacefully, so even impending Armageddon couldn't actually be all that dire. Wise perspective gazes tranquilly from 100 diffuse feet higher than even the most tantalizing but suspicious thoughts, rooted in unconscious biases that have been mercilessly, subversively taught and taken in without discernment. So we may have compassion for the one who learned that they were defective, flawed, shameful, disdainful, or could ever be wrong. How cruel the education that made us slaves to validation from someone else who we elevated, shrinking below their threshold of consideration. We broke ourselves down to fit the pieces into the mold of a socially sanctioned, stamped, and certifiable imitation that was forged from every humiliating invective, shaping our perspectives of our own limitations. Every belittling glare fired from the eyes of those tasked with, but failing miserably at, caring for our welfare. And each molten lie we once dutifully absorbed that defined who I should be and what parts of me I need to abhor, when we weren't yet old enough or world-wizened, or had the ability and stability to question and decide which beliefs we'll discard or which ones may be allowed to abide. And it created all the judgment that we still to this day pass upon our lives. With every word that was spoken from a posture of defense, every tentative step taken, then quickly reversed, retreating into the safety of the hazy, gray, known mundane again. Every decision that was made from a place of ignorance or fear, the promise of an unnamed danger was always threatening to appear. Had no idea what it might look like, but each day I would swear I could feel it drawing nearer. In the end, it took too many years before the true danger actually became clear. And of course, there was never a single moment when it had been anywhere else but here.